Okay, y'all, I'm back. I'm gonna have to do some splicing. So anyway, so she comes outside and she says to me, "Did you bump him?" And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "Did you bump him?" And I was like, when I walked past him to get the cigarette that he threw on, flinged the lit cigarette off my floor, yes. And she said, "You didn't tell me that. Put your hands behind your back." When I tell you, I was, I couldn't even believe it. And I was like, I'm being arrested for what? For assault. Because I bumped him, is what she said. So they take me downtown. Well, not even downtown, because it's around the corner from my house. So takes me to the police station, and I get booked in. I get booked in. They put me in the holding cell. I'm like, when I say crying and just, I mean, because I can't believe that this is happening to me. So, the mind you, I had on my night clothes. So I had on like this dress that didn't have no, with just a tank dress, no underclothes on at all. So I'm in jail. Then they make me take off my clothes and put on the little orange um, scrubs and everything. They give you underwear. So, luckily. So, I put on my little underwears and my orange scrubs. And then they put me back in a holding tank. And so I'm in there with these girls, and they're in there for like drugs, and one old broad, I think she was in there for prostitution or something, and I don't know, but I'm in there, so it was kind of like, and all these girls were so young. One was 18, um, one was like 19, and one was 21 or something. They were just little young girls in there. So, um, I went through a lot of emotions that night. Like, because when you're in jail, like you're in there with people, and you start talking to people, and then you go through, you just talking and shooting the crap or what have you, and then you stop and think about your plight of what's why you're there, and you start crying all over again. So anyway, so I spent the night in the Arlington jail, and then the next morning, like, you're supposed to go before the judge, and then the judge, tells you whatever, whatever. Out of everybody that was in there in the cells with me, I'm the only one that had a bail before we left Arlington, because we had to go to, they moved us to Fort Worth. So, but I already had a bail before I left there. I had a $5,000 bail. Now, the night that I had got arrested, I sat in the cell um until I want to say like 3 o'clock in the morning, 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And this happened at around about 11, 12. So, um, about 4 o'clock in the morning when they finally let me out of the cell so that I can make my phone call. So, and get my fingerprints and everything. So we, they let me out and he's like, the guy is taking my fingerprints and taking my mugshot and everything. And I'm like, I should have just let him hit me. I should have just let him hit me. And the policeman was like, no, you shouldn't have. $3 ticket. So he's like, no, you shouldn't. And I'm like, I should have. I should have just let him hit me. And the police is like, he's like, you never let nobody hit you. And I said, if I'd have let him hit me, I wouldn't be here. And he was like, I don't care what you have to do, but you never let nobody put their hands on you. You don't let nobody hit you. And so we finished up there or whatever, and they told me what I was being charged with. And I was just kind of like dumbfounded, like, what? And so I was being charged. I had a felony charge of a domestic with a deadly weapon against a family member, and it was a felony charge. At the time that he told me that, I was like dumbfounded because I'm like, what do you mean a felony? I didn't hit or stab anybody. So I couldn't understand. And at the time, I didn't know how much time that carried. So the when I went before the judge was like, you have um a your bond is $5,000 and you have a restraining order against you. You are not allowed to go back to 404. And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm not allowed to go home. That's my house. I'm the one that pays the rent there. His name is not on the lease. She said, I don't care. You can't go back to that house for 90 days. And you are to stay away from this man. So I'm livid. I don't know. I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening to me. So at this point, I go back in and wait for them to cart me to Fort Worth because I need to, by the time they did everything, because I was like the last person to go in or whatever. So I don't have time to call my sister-in-law and tell her, look, I need somebody to bail me out of jail. So I had talked to her that night, the night that I had got arrested. Well, that morning at like 4 o'clock. When the police gave me, when it was time for me to make my call, they have like these little rooms. They're like phone rooms, and they put you in there and you make a phone call. Well, he didn't put me in there. He had his cell, hit like the cordless phone on his desk, and he was like, um, you can use this phone. And he was like, you make as many calls as you need to find somebody, to let them know where you are and what's happening. He was like, so just make as many calls as you have to. And I was like, thank you. Thank you very much. And I mean, he was really a nice guy. He was the guy that had gave me did the fingerprints for me. So, um, I called, and of course, Miss Melissa answered the phone. Now, she is actually my significant other's sister. Me and her have been like buddied up since the day I met her, in 2011. So, um, I had called her and I said, I'm and told her I'm in jail, and she's like, "What? You're in jail for what?" And I was like, he called the police on me, and she was like, "Are you kidding me? That little punk with his little squat ass called the police on you," and I said he had me arrested. So after so the next day they take me to Fort Worth. We get to Fort Worth. It's an all day process. Like, you go into the holding cell, and like, it's so many people in there. I was just, it was like jam packed with people in there. Hardly any place to sit in the holding cells. It was awful. And um I was kept trying to make the calls out, and because they had a phone in there, but it was cutting out or whatever. And I'm like, look, man, all I need you to do, my bill is $5,000. I need you to get my purse, get get my purse, get my debit card out of my purse, go to the ATM and get the money and bail me out. So she was like, okay. Then I'm like, I'm not understanding. Like, I'm telling her, look, I'm still waiting for them to process me, because she couldn't get me out until they process me. So this turns into the next day. So I spent the night at Arlington jail and spent the night at um this jail, because we in there all day processing. And finally, in late in the evening, it's like, probably, I think it was like 11, 12 o'clock before I got into a bunk, a cell. So then I had to go change out of my clothes again, back into their stuff. And then I finally got a room. And then, so I spent the night there that night. And then the next day, so that's 2 nights. And then the next day, I was there all day. Um, and I'm like, we're waiting. I'm just waiting. Just waiting. Like, come on, man. Come on, what's the deal? So this was Wednesday. So it happened Wednesday. Yep, it happened Wednesday night. I had Melissa to call in for me Thursday. I don't work on Fridays. So I was there Wednesday night, Thursday night, and Friday night. So Um, Saturday, I'm still waiting because I'm like, what is taking so long? What? Why am I not out of here? They should have been able to get my belongings, get my purse, and get the money, and they should have been here by now. So, um, end up Saturday, I'm like, I'm in my bunk, and I hear my name. They call me over the speaker and tell me to come and bring my stuff. And the little girl that was in the room with me, she was only 19, and she had been there for, I think she said like 9 months. She had already been there, and she was finna about to go to this other little place. Um, she was in there for cooking meth. I'm like, good lord, and she's just a baby. And so anyway, I left, and they let me get out, and so I was waiting for my sister-in-law to come pick me up, and I see her pull up, and but she's not driving, and I look and see who's driving, and it's my son, my oldest son. And I'm like, what are you doing here? I get in the car, and I start crying because I'm just like, what are you doing here? And he's like, you knew I was coming. You knew I was coming. And I was like, man. And so apparently when I told Melissa that I was in jail, my son here didn't even know that I had been arrested. He heard us fighting, and he heard, he had, like, the police had talked to him or whatever, but he didn't know that I had got arrested. So he finds out that I got arrested or what have you. Like, um, I guess he had went to school, and then he was like, I ain't heard from my mom or nothing, and I think something happened. I think my mom might have got arrested or whatever. So, and his thoughts were valid. So when he had got home, there was like this note on the door, and telling him that, um, I had, from dude, telling him that I had got arrested, and that he would be home soon, and he'd take him to go get something to eat, um, for dinner or whatever. So by this time, though, Melissa was already here, waiting in the driveway, waiting for him to get off of school, so that she could take him home with her. And so there, he's in the car with her, and he doesn't have his key because I had the key. The police brought the key in here and gave it to that numbnut. When I said give my son my keys or whatever. And so my son didn't have no key to get in the house, and he was in the car with Melissa. And this fool pulls up and tells him, "Come on, uh, your mom has been arrested, and I have custody of you. So come and get in the car, and I'm gonna take you to go get something to eat." And my son was like, "No, you don't have no custody of me. What are you talking about?" And he was like, "I have custody of you. I'm in charge of you. I have custody of you. So my sister-in-law is like, do you want to go with him? And my son was like, no, I don't want to go with him. And she was like, well, he's not going with you. He'll be going with me. I don't know why you feel like how you feel you got custody of him. Um, but he's not gonna be staying here. So he tells my son, go. Well, you better go in there and get you some clothes, um, and get enough because your mama gonna be in jail for a while. Now, first of all, unlike him, I'm not spending 11 to 15 days in nobody's jail. You got me messed up. So they tell him that they need my purse. He wouldn't give it to him. He said, I'm not giving y'all her property, blah, blah, blah. I don't know you, and this, that, and the other type of bull. And he knows her, but he's just being a butt crack. He stole all the cash I had in my purse. That, like, I think in my purse, cash wise, I had like 300 and something bucks in my purse. He stole all of that. I was amazed that he did not go and clean out my checking account, because he did have the pin to my card. But luckily, thank God, he didn't do that. But he did steal all the money that was in my purse. So when they got me that Saturday, and when we came out of jail, when they got me out of jail, we had to go to the bail bonds place because my son put up the bill, the $500, um, and had the bail bonds people do whatever, whatever. So, get the paperwork done or whatever. So when we got finished with that, I'm like, I need clothes because this is Saturday. I got to go to work on Sunday. So I only missed one day of work. I was like, I got to have clothes. I have to go to work tomorrow. Um, and I need my purse. I need my keys so I can get my car, and all of this. So we parked down the street at these apartments down the street, and they they drop me off. They just leave me at the apartments, and I'm because I can't come down here. So they come down here. It begins to be like this big ordeal. Him and I guess him and my son arguing and all types of stuff, and so he's like saying he's not going to give my stuff to them without me talking to him or something. And I'm like, I'm not talking to him, first of all, because he's trying to trap me up, because he knows there's an order of protection and I'm not supposed to have any communication with him. I was like, so he's trying to set me up. I'm not talking to him. I need my stuff. So they finally get in here and they get some of my clothes, and they get my purse and everything and my keys and stuff. And then they bring the car down. So we go on and go to Melissa's house, and Melissa's car stopped working for some reason. And so we had to leave it and go on and go to the house in my car. So when we get to her house the next day, I go to work. I get to work. I work. I go on my first break. My first break. And when I come back from my first break, my phone rings. And I'm like, the hell? Why is he calling me? So I don't answer it because I'm at my desk. And then he sends me a text message and he says, I'm gonna I'm calling I'm calling the police on your sons because your sons came over here and threatened me. Now, first of all, the lady when I got the order of protection had said I can't have no contact with him and no one can retaliate against him on my behalf or I'm gonna be back right back in jail. So I'm like, what the hell? So I call my son and I'm like, what did y'all do? And he was like, what are you talking about? And I said, what did you do? And he said, what are you talking about? I just got up. We just got up. And I said, he just called and said that he was calling the police because you all went over there and threatened him. He was like, we haven't been anywhere to threaten anybody because we just got up. So he's lying. We haven't been anywhere. He was like, Ma, and anyway, we can't go anywhere. We don't have the car. You got the car. Melissa's car is still over at the building. And I'm like, this. Ooh. And so I was like, okay. So at this point I had a freaking breakdown at my job. So I'm crying hysterically. And um so my supervisor at the time is like, what is going on? And so I tell him what's going on. He's like, all right. I said, I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. Because I had told my son to call the police. Because I was like, look, you call the police and make a report on him because he's harassing. So, um, I leave and I go to the house. I'm on my way to, I think I was gonna go to the police station and file a report for harassment and show them the text messages and calls that he'd been sending me because I'm not supposed to have no contact with him, but yet and still, he's still calling me and leaving me messages. So I was gonna go to the police station, but I was almost to the police station, and my son was calling me saying, "Mom, where are you? And how far are you from here?" And I said, "I'm on my way to the police station." And he was like, "Well, the police are here, and they're saying that they need to talk to you. Um, so we can put this so we can put the report in." And I said, okay, I'm on my way. So I went on over there. When I got there, the police were like, look, he was like, sometimes, because I told the police officer everything that happened, and he was like, sometimes um, I've seen, times that colleagues have made mistakes. He was like, and I know that I'm probably guilty of it too. He was like, but this is just asinine. He was like, this makes no sense that you were arrested and now you have an order of protection against you. And I said, well, he has the keys to the house. My son can't get into the house, and he's essentially locked him out of his own home. And he's like, he can't do that legally. And he said, the only person, is he on the lease? And I said, no, he's not. He said, well, the only person that's on that lease is your son that legally has any legal stance. He was like, is your son that can be there? He said, so your son can go there as much as he wants. He can take who he wants there, and they can stay as long as he wants them to, and he can't do nothing about it. He was like, I hate to tell you. He was like, because you're probably going to have to pay for it and you may have some problems with the landlord or whatever. But whatever it takes for you to get in that house, get in that house. If you got to break a window to get in there, get in there. He was like, and then you can have anybody you want in there for as long as you want in there, because he technically is not a resident of that home. So, um, so my guy that y'all saw walk past here a couple times. Now, I told you me and him had broke up, and that's how I ended up with dude. So he was like, he was there when I got there from work, and he's like telling them, he's like, look, so what we gonna do is every day we're just gonna go there and post up every day and dare him to say something. Every single day we're gonna make his life miserable. So apparently my son had told him, if you don't get out of my mother's house, I will not be responsible for what happens to you. So um he ended up leaving. He moved out, like, I think we only spent like 2 nights, two, maybe 3 nights at Melissa's house. And then he left, he moved out. And so I was able to come back home. So after all of that, I find out what these charges carry. So apparently it was 10 to 20 in the state penitentiary for a felony domestic against a family member with a deadly weapon. And I was astounded. I was just like, are you kidding me? 10 to 20 years? And even, I didn't do anything to you? And that's what y'all charging me with? This whole ordeal, well, they ended up, after the fact, lowering the charges to um, terroristic threat, which at that point cost me my insurance license. Not insurance license, I'm sorry, my securities license, because I work for a security company. And so they took my securities license away, which I can get back now, but I ain't really, I mean, I really don't need it, I guess. Um, but if I ever need one, I guess I'll get another one or whatever. But so because a terroristic threat, you can't hold a securities license. I don't understand that. They didn't take it away when it was a felony, but they took it away because when it got dropped down to a terroristic threat. So anyway, um, I ended up, it ended up being dismissed. Um, I did have to do some things to get it there, but it cost me over $6,000 just to fight this. And if I had not gotten my own lawyer and probably went with a public defender, I probably would have ended up with some time or something. Um, it was just really asinine. It was a lot of nothing. And when I talked to my lawyer, when I got my lawyer, and I was showing my lawyer text messages from him throughout the years that we had been dealing, because I save everything. So I just was letting her read through text messages, and she was just like, oh my God, really? This is what you've been dealing with? And I was like, yeah. The way that he talked to me, the just berating me and making outlandish accusations against me, against my kids, just he was awful. He was awful. And once it was over, um, and everything was dropped and everything, it was such a weight off my shoulders, and um, it took a while for him to realize that we were not ever going to get back together, that things were just pretty much the end. Um, but the fact that I don't have to deal with that type of person in my life anymore is just such a relief. And the fact that I'm in such I'm back with the person I should have been with in the first place. And if me and him hadn't never broke up, I'd have never met this man. And I never went to jail. But that is neither here nor there, because no one can change the past. But I hope you guys enjoyed my story time, and I thank you all for watching. And if you like, please like, share, subscribe, and yeah, like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell and all of that good stuff. So once again, thank you guys for coming to my channel, and you have a wonderful day.